Alright, I just thought I'd show a quick video here of a little bit of this project. I've done enough bucket videos that I probably don't need to do a full video, but I just wanted to show you one of the reasons you don't just bid jobs over the phone. So this is a bucket for a Cat 980G loader, and they called and told me that, yep, bushings weren't too bad loose, needed me to weld and bore top and bottom holes. Now, they did tell me that the top holes had some kind of bushings in them, and these normally do not. So they wanted me to eliminate these bushings. They did tell me that, weld them up. This is some machined bushings that somebody made and put in there is what I did. So I knew that, and I quizzed them on how thick they were, and they said, oh, probably 1/8 inch. Well, they're closer to 1/4 inch. So all of those holes have got to get welded and bored. Now what they didn't tell me is that the bottom holes had the same thing going on, and it had these big old monsters in there. So I knocked them out of there. And so, by the way, the reason we got to get rid of these is this is the bushings that got to go in those holes. They were loose in there, so we either had to weld it up or we had to make more custom bushings and then press bushings into it. Just not worth it. They run a whole fleet of these here, so they've got parts in stock that are that style, so they want all their machines easily interchangeable. But so anyways, I have been here welding now. I've done one complete pass through these holes. I've done a second pass in that one, and now I'm getting ready to do it there. And to be honest with you, I try to never do more than 2 passes without welding, or without cutting between welds. So I'm going to check it out, but I think it's going to take another pass. So if that's true, I will have 3 passes through all 4 of them bottom holes. We've been welding now for, I got to think about this, about 2 hours. And then we'll do some fairly precise ciphering and see once if we think we can get away with cutting it clean, or if I'm going to try and cheat and put a 3rd pass in. But anyhow, we got a long darn ways to go though, because I got 2 at least, probably 3 to do there. I'm figuring 2 passes in all of that, and that's before we can even start cutting anything. I will be here, be perfectly honest, I'll be surprised if I'm done by tomorrow night. I didn't get on this job and I didn't get here until 10 o'clock today because I had stuff I had to do this morning. And then no sooner did I get here, found out all these weird odd hole sizes, I had to run back to my shop and make myself some alignment discs to go in here because of all these homemade bushings. I didn't have any of my pre-made discs that were the right size to fit this thing. So, and the holes, as you can see, like they're in pretty good shape. So it wasn't that I was worried about them being hammered off center. So I went ahead, just lined up on the existing bores. But anyhow, if I get anything interesting, I'll show it to you. But I just wanted to give you here's the kind of thing that you can run into. And if you just over the phone said, you know, I'm $500 a hole or whatever your number is, you are going to lose your shirt on a job like this. I'll have at least an entire extra day of welding above and beyond a normal job before this one's ready to bore. Well, we have got something on the order of about 6 hours of welding in here so far. There's 2 passes in all 4 of them bottom holes. And now we're getting the boring bar set up. I just got done adding these 2 center bearings. And we're going to slide the bar back because I can't reach all of it at once. So we'll slide the bar back to this end, cut those two, and hope that I don't need to put another pass of weld in. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. I think there's a strong chance we need to, but we'll see. Well, it's about what I expected. She needs to be another pass of weld. I don't know if you can see up in there, like I got a big place there that didn't clean up, all up in here. So I'm getting ready to cut her oversized because I don't want to be cutting my transition zone. So I'm going to cut it, we'll say 30 thou on a size side over and lay a fairly thin weld bead in there, and then she'll clean up nice that way. So anyway, that's what I'm getting ready to do, is set my tool over and cut through there again. All right, I'm not sure if you guys are even going to be able to see this, but I have just had one of those real pain in the butt moments that comes back and gets you every once in a while, line boring. So I had put 2 passes in these holes and then had to cut it, clean it, and make another pass. And everything's gone good all the way across here. This one, for about the last third of the bore, I was a little suspicious fishy stuff was going on, because I stopped periodically and cleaned my tip, and then I'm always watching the weld bead that I'm laying down, and it looked to me like, it's hard to describe, it's just little hints that you start picking up on. So if the weld bead is red hot when you stop, and the metal next to it isn't changing color, you've got a bead that's not fusing to the base metal, it's just welding, building up on itself. Well, that's not what I was seeing. I was seeing it and the base metal glowing red hot next to it. Now, the problem with that is this is a big enough heat sink, you shouldn't see it glowing red hot. It'll turn the base metal blue. But so what that led me to suspect, and what has proven to be true, is that the previous layer had not bonded right. Now, if they do that, they always do it on the, I'd say, bottom quarter around here on the downhill side of the weld. And that's what it's done. And then the real telltale, I don't know if you can see it, but it's opening up a crack between the previous pass and the one before it. So this is a royal pain in the butt. I don't have time for this kind of nonsense, but here we are. So obviously you cannot just ignore that. I have a literal gap between 2 layers. What I'm about to do is fire up the torch, and I'm going to gouge out a section from here about here and then hand fill it back in. I'm going to do it while it's still hot. It'll all bond in nice, but it's just one more thing that's going to keep me here till, 10 o'clock tonight, where I do not want to be. I got things to do. I need to get out of here, but it has to be done right. So thankfully, that's the only one that did it. I went back and double checked because I was paranoid, but like I say, I'm checking periodically as I'm welding, and I've been suspecting something was wrong for the last 10 minutes or something worth of weld. So I'm just going to start cutting back until I find the spot where it's fused with the base metal. I'll just start gouging it out here, and when we get there, then we'll build her back up. Okay, so I just got done welding this back up. Yes, I realize that's not a beautiful weld, but as you might notice, I got a bearing mount right in the road that makes access pretty bad. So hopefully I've got enough material in there that she cleans up now, and as you can see, I had to gouge quite a bit out before I got, back to base metal where the 2 were bonded. So anyways, I just wanted to discuss what causes this. So in my experience, the biggest single cause of cold lapping like that is if you're running too low of a rotational speed. Yes, your voltage and your wire speed definitely are contributing factors, but when those are set right, you can tell if you're making a nice weld bead. So here's what gets you in this kind of trouble, and exactly what I succumb to is if you slow the rotational speed down, you get more buildup. But you get too slow and the puddle starts running ahead of your arc and basically chilling your arc on the downhill side, and it shields it from the base metal. And like I say, it's one of them where I knew I was flirting with the edge of it, let's put it that way, but I got away with it on 3 of them. They came out just fine. For some reason, what probably happened is I just bumped my rotation speed down just a little bit. The bore welder that I've got, this does not read in RPMs. It's some screwy number that, as far as I can tell, correlates to voltage going to the motor, and it's not very repeatable is what I've discovered. Like, you set it on 7 one time, and the next time you might need to be on 5. So that's really probably where the trouble got me, is that, just eyeballing it, it's hard to tell, okay, is it turning the same speed it was before? And obviously it wasn't. So anyways, I've got her built up, and we're going to set up the boring bar now. I'm going to let that cool. I'm actually going to start cutting on this end, because this end is down to room temperature. We'll get this one all bored, and then we'll switch to this side. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't have to do any more filler in that hole. And, I've eyeballed it and built up enough. But all right, so I'm moving up to the top set of holes now. We got the bottom done. This came out nice. I got to hit them with a hone yet, or a little bit undersized. This one, let's see here. Yeah, you can see a few little peck marks in there that didn't quite clean up where I had to hand weld in there, but really pretty nice. We're not chasing those anymore. Anyway, these holes, by the way, get some of the heaviest bushings I've ever seen put in them. So, them are some stout bushings. But anyways, so yeah, we've got our alignment discs in here. That one was a little snug, so I didn't tap it in real far, as I was afraid I'd have trouble getting it back out. But so yeah, just pulling bearings, mounting them up here. I do have another set of bearings, but there was no point in digging them out. I had to take these ones off anyway, so we're getting set up to bore this one. Well, weld it and then bore it. It's been a stinking long day. Let's see here. So these holes got 3 passes in them without cutting between the second and third pass. Those on the small holes, I was welding with it pretty hot. It was, and I was running high rotational speed after the disaster with that one where I had that cold lap. So they were welding nice. There were no issues bonding. After 3 passes set up to cut and 3 passes in those holes, which at higher speed, you don't get as big of a bead, still wasn't enough. So cut them all 50 thou on a side over finish bore and laid in a nice finish pass. And I've cut this one, so I had been welding from this way, that direction. So these were the hottest. I went ahead and cut these 2 to within 10, 15 thou of finish dimension. These were hot, and these ones I wanted to let cool off, so I switched over to honing and prepping these to press the bushings in. So that's what I'm going to do now, is press those bushings in. These ones are plenty cool enough. Those ones are getting close. So by the time I get done stomping the bushings in, I'll be able to go up here and finish bore all of that. But anyways, I'm dragging, let's put it that way. It has been such a long day. We are on the home stretch. Bushings are all pressed in on the bottom. That set of bores is done, and we're on the finished pass in this set. Probably have to hit those with a hone. I'm ending up just about size for size with my pins. Maybe a thou of clearance, and they don't usually fit when you're that close. So I'll have to hit them with a hone. I shouldn't say don't dare. I don't really want to cut them. I need a couple thou of clearance probably. Anyways, if I try cutting them that much, I'll blow oversized. Or I could. I don't want to risk it. So anyways, it's been a long day. I'm very tired. I would sit down and cry if I overshot a dimension at this point. So anyways, I'm just slowly picking stuff up and putting it away while that thing is cutting. All right, everybody, she's done. So I haven't even figured out yet how many hours are in it, but it's got to be, I got to think about this. Knocking on the door 30 hours. Let me see here. Yeah, about 27, 28. I haven't figured it out exactly. And before a whole bunch of you smart Alex keyboard warriors start spouting off about how fast you could have done it, I'd like to remind you that every one of them bottom holes has 3 passes of weld in it, and the top 4 have 4 passes of weld in them before I got them things built up enough to bore. So there is no speeding that process up. You fire it up, you get the settings right, and it's just got to sit there and cook along. So I would say well over half of the job, probably 2/3 of it, was just pass after pass after pass with the bore welder. So that's what you run into when you got this kind of stuff. I mean, just when you're trying to replace previous bushings that were, way big, thick outfits like that, because they had bushings inside of bushings. So they had a bushing like that inside of those, and we were trying to get it back to where it just accepts the original bushings. And then on top, these don't use bushings. The ones that were in there were some shop-made ones, and they didn't want to have to be committed to doing that, so they wanted me to take it back to just being parent board. So anyways, it's done. I am very glad to see the end of this one. I'm tired of it. We're probably the next video you guys see is going to be us taking a trek down to Georgia to bring back the Wander Lodge. So anyways, this is Andy with Perpetual Motion, and I'm just about out of motion. I'll see you next time.